Thank you for the opportunity to once again address the Insurance Council's regulatory update seminar. My apologies that I couldn't be there with you in Sydney in person this year. But right now, my wife is expecting our first child. It could happen at any moment, and so Sydney is a bit far from Perth for comfort, just in case. But as I said when I last spoke to you, yours is a very important industry for Australia. Insurance is very important when it comes to people's financial health and well-being. In the broader, very intensive political debates, when disasters strike, your industry can at times be misunderstood and at times be unfairly in the firing line, and I'm sure you're only too well aware of that. However, there are legitimate public interest considerations that as an industry you need to forever be mindful of. Your industry provides a framework for individuals, families and businesses to transfer risk against payment. That's a very important tool in any economy and in any community. It provides the capacity to share risk at a price. But it is only natural that those of us who seek to transfer risk are looking for the opportunity to do so at the lowest possible cost. As consumers, we are looking for what can seem to you like the impossible risk insurance trifecta. We want low, affordable premiums up front. We want the largest, most comprehensive level of cover. And of course, we want no or minimum out of pockets at the time of making a claim. Your challenge as insurers is to forever strive to achieve the best possible balance, to ensure insurance provides adequate cover while remaining both affordable and accessible. Just in the last month, we've had floods, we've had fires and cyclones across the length and breadth of our country. I know that you're very conscious that these events have significant implications for individual families and businesses when they happen. But of course, they also have broader medium to long-term structural implications for the cost of insurance. If the cost of dealing with disaster events and the like increases, the cost of insuring against those costly implications of those events will necessarily increase as well. The pressure is on premiums, out of pockets, and level of cover, or most likely a combination of all three. We need to continue to work together to ensure that we can continue to improve our risk mitigation strategies to lower costs and also to ensure that as an industry you are as efficient, as transparent and as competitive and responsive to community needs as possible. It is clearly in our national interest to ensure that risk insurance in all its forms remains affordable and accessible. Where there are obvious pressures, we need to work together to find sensible solutions. As an industry, you have faced increased scrutiny of your policies and pricing in recent years. That's what happened during times of pressure. The cost of insurance is a real and pressing problem for Australians, particularly for those in higher risk areas. Industry must work with all levels of government to ensure we have the information and the infrastructure to help us put downward pressure on premiums and reduce the risks of underinsurance as well. Clearly, the regulatory environment does need to be focused on consumer protection, but we must get the balance right. In the end, excessive and unnecessary red tape will just lead to increased costs for all, and that's not good for anyone. In the end, the best protection for consumers and the lowest premiums will be delivered if the industry is open and competitive, with companies offering a range of products at different price points, with individuals having some say in the level of risk that they are willing to assume for themselves. There are some specific issues I would like to touch on in relation to the cost of insurance. The increased cost of general house and body corporate insurance premiums in particular is one of the major insurance issues raised with me by Coalition MPs, especially those representing communities in Queensland and parts of New South Wales. I've been told about premium increases of up to 400 to 500%. This clearly causes significant cost of living stresses for people in those areas, particularly retirees and people on fixed incomes. I understand that premium increases have resulted from losses suffered in recent major disasters, which has led to insurance companies responsibly reassessing and repricing risks accordingly. But it appears that there has also been a reduction in competition in the provision of these types of insurance, with only a few companies offering cover in some markets. I think you would agree that there has been a perception that insurance companies are somewhat insensitive and do not care about the cost pressures placed on residents in those areas. I'm sure that's not true, and you will help me prove people who have those views wrong. Yes, and the government actually, of course, found that there was no price manipulation going on and that price increases reflected a reassessment of risk. However, as you understand, this is cold comfort for those people who are struggling to maintain their insurance, particularly, as I said, those on fixed incomes, such as pensioners. Tony Abbott has established a working group, which I chair, to look at this issue and come up with proposals to assist consumers in those areas. I would encourage all of you, if you have proposals, ideas for improvements to the current regulatory regime or ways of making insurance more affordable, please tell us about your ideas. Of course, we already worked very closely with the Insurance Council on these and other issues impacting on your industry on a regular basis. The Coalition will continue to work closely with the Insurance Council on all issues associated with affordability of insurance. We do not want to see the barriers to the take-up of private insurance continue to be an issue with too many people not insuring at all. Clearly there are issues in high-risk areas such as North Queensland. But as these are pockets of high-risk communities, an open dialogue on how to address affordability is needed. In general, we think that our current regulatory settings are working well. Consumers are able to have confidence in the industry being strong and profitable and being able to pay claims as it has done so often in the last few years. However, the profitability of the industry and the ongoing increases in premium pricing must also be considered in the context of the community's need to be able to access insurance cover at competitive and affordable prices. I am aware of the good work undertaken by the Insurance Council to date, which has resulted in reforms of fire services in Victoria and soon in New South Wales. I welcome discussion at the federal level on industry ideas around further input costs affecting the industry and how these may be best addressed. The Coalition will seek to work with your industry to achieve similarly good outcomes in relation to risk mitigation for flood, bushfire, cyclones and so on. Whilst government at various levels has a clear responsibility on issues such as land planning, mitigation and building more resilient Australian communities, there is also significant room for the private insurance sector to provide ideas and support. Our goal in government will be to approach any policy changes in a methodical, evidence-based, consultative and predictable fashion. We will continue to work on key issues in partnership with your industry. What we need is for considered, well thought out ideas backed up by research and recommendations on those policy issues that the industry would like to pursue with the coalition government and vice versa. Thank you again for allowing me to speak to you in this format. Hopefully, by the time of your next regulatory update seminar, I will have the opportunity to engage with you as the Minister with responsibility for this portfolio area, and hopefully in the not too distant future my wife will have given birth to a healthy young daughter.